per test. So math, English, science, and social studies. That's $120 that they don't have, and you don't always pass the first time. Even if you pass the practice test, there's just a nervousness and an anxiety level. They usually don't pass the first time they go out to Jeff State to take that. So we cover all those fees for them, and that really helps a lot of them meet that goal. Once we started covering the fees, we noticed a lot more graduates. So we're happy to fund that. We also have some elective classes. You'll see our computer lab. We have a computer class, Intro to Computers, this year, starting next week. We're excited about that. Hoping to get them more comfortable so that when they do take that GED, they aren't nervous. There's a writing portion where they write an essay on the English test, so they really kind of need to know how to type so they don't time out on that. We also teach a Bible study class. This is the CEV version, Contemporary English version. It's on about a 4th grade reading level. This is what I teach out of, and so far I haven't had any problems with the translation, but we've done Genesis and we're in Exodus right now, and then we're going to jump to some New Testament after that. But this is, for me, my funnest day of the week is the day I teach the Bible study. We have a lot of fun. We provide them a free lunch that day, and they eat lunch while I teach, and this is how I get to know our students. And it's been very fun. I've taken lots of our students to my church for some women's events. We go on outings as well, so it's just a lot of fun. But it's very impactful. If you were to interview our students and ask them, which we do for our social media posts and such, most of them talk about our Bible study. So that's kind of fun for me, and knowing that I am just discipling these women. 2 of them are leaders in their church, but they're on a 4th grade reading level, and they can't seem to get past that. So to know that I'm teaching them some good solid scripture, and that's going back to their church, that's kind of a multiplying effect that I'm excited about. So after they get their GED, we have a Ready to Work class. It's a grant through Jeff State that they can participate in. It's a 6 to 8 week class, and that just kind of gives them some soft skills. We help them try to figure out what their career path is, point them in the right direction, and we're hoping to start tracking our alumni a little better to make sure that they're really staying solid and getting what they need. So, Dalton, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Marlon. So, Marlon and her staff do a great job here. And I wanted to mention again that we operate on a model which is hub and spoke, right? The small staff we have are the hub, the spokes are all volunteers we have. So it really allows us to provide a pretty good ROI to the community based on the dollars we get in, because we really function with volunteer work. And I'll transition that to the healthcare center. But first, I make this argument sometimes, and good that y'all ladies came in late. I should probably get on this stand for that would be perfect for all my kids.
There's a train.
But I try to explain this sometimes when I'm sitting with somebody who's trying to understand something about MPower. Think about your own children, those of you that have children, or your grandchildren, or your nieces. And if everybody in the family just disappeared today and they were on their own, right, in a setting of poverty, on their own, what would you really want somebody to do to help them, right? Because that makes it more personal. That's what do you really want somebody to do to help them? Do you want them to send them to some government program that marches them through and treats them like a number, or do you really want to send them to a group of believers who really want to help them change their life, right? And let's don't kid ourselves, that's not easy. It's not easy. There's a lot of things in life that aren't easy, but one of them, and probably about as hard as anything we can imagine, is changing or getting up out of poverty. It's almost, it's not almost impossible, but it's pretty darn close. And without any help, it's impossible. It really is. So let me transition to the health center, because before we start our tour, we need to talk about that. The first floor is a health clinic. It operates on the same model like I just mentioned about volunteers. All of our physicians, except for one, is a volunteer. We have Dr. Ketchum, who is our medical director, and we have to have a paid medical director and have a dispensary. But he is a phenomenal guy who volunteers all the time. We pay him pretty much top end. oversees the dispensary because of the laws of the state of Alabama about pharmacies, dispensaries. We can't have a pharmacy, but we can have a dispensary. So that's the way we give free medications to the patients. So when we go downstairs, you'll see we'll start at the window where the patients come in. There should be some patients this morning. They're in and out. Today will be the chronic care patients that we see. That means they've been coming to MPower for a while. They come in through the acute care. So the acute care is 2 days a week, and the chronic care is 2 days a week. Again, I mentioned this before, but I think you'll probably rather know about it. The acute care is for anybody that has any issue that's never seen us before. It's great if they call on Tuesday and Thursday and come, but it's great if they just show up at the door, and a lot do. The shelters bring a lot of people to the Tuesday and Thursday clinics, and those show up at the door in a van, and we get them in line. They get here on Tuesday and Thursdays about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and they'll be triaged by the staff, and then the physician or physicians, hopefully 2 physicians, volunteer will come in at 5 o'clock and see patients until they're done. So if you run into any of our physicians, please thank them, because you can imagine they've been working all day. They show up here, and then they work until the patients are seen at night.
We had 18 last night. 18.
Yeah, and so if you have one doctor, that's a problem, because the doctor has to go through 18 patients before he goes home after working all day for 0 pay. Yes.
I think one of our partners' husbands, Greg Champion, has served here before, so.
Yes. How about that? Hey, good to see you. Yes, Greg and Tim did the whole practice. Honestly, it's been what does he call it? Gastro. Yeah. They changed their names every time. Southeast Gastro. Dr. Denton and Dr. Champion did great, and you know my nephew is over there now. Wiley Trust is my nephew. So it was. They have been so. It's really hard to say how generous they've been doing stuff at their offices for, and all of our physicians are. It's really pretty amazing. That's a really humbling part of this is to watch all that. And we have volunteer nurses, and we've had many volunteers through the health center. Honestly, in the past 1.5 to 2 years, it's been a lot less. I mean, the physicians have been there, but we've had to kind of bring it in relative to COVID. And so we've had less volunteers in the front office there, but we're getting back to that. So if anybody would like to volunteer front office, that's available too. If we have any nurses, that's also fantastic. So to wrap up the health center, the chronic care are patients we mentioned that have diabetes, hypertensive, COPD, and other things, but those are the 3 that make up the largest portion of it. Big deal for that is free medication, because if you've got diabetes, let's say you're a man and you're 50 years old, diabetic, if you're a man, you're not on Medicaid. Now, in the state of Alabama, most people don't know that, but you're not on Medicaid if you're a man. Other states you are, but not here. And so you've got to pay for all. You can't see a doctor most likely. You'll go to the ER. You can go to Cooper Green if you can get in, 3 to 4 weeks later. But we'll have somebody show up, well, nice Wednesday, we'll have somebody show up tomorrow night probably with a blood sugar over 500. They're walking, they shouldn't be driving or however they got here. But so we have insulin on site. We can give them insulin. We can give them a short-term supply. And then we work with the pharmaceutical companies to get them free medication. If you're 200% of poverty or below, you can get free medication. Most people don't know that. But it's a stack of papers about this thick to fill out, like a corporate tax form, which they never do. So we help them fill that out. That usually takes several weeks of getting documentation and all. We fill that out, and then they get free medication. And they'll come, and the medication comes here, which is a big bonus. So they have to come here to pick up their medication, and we get to see them every 3 months or so. And so all of a sudden, somebody who may have lived their life showing up at emergency rooms a number of times per year now is their health baseline is this instead of this and this and this, right? So again, getting out of poverty, that's not going to get them out of poverty, but it's going to help them a lot along that line that they don't have to miss their job anymore. They don't have to miss work. Matter of fact, I wanted to tag team on Mara Ellen's right there. A lot of people ask me the question when I'm talking like, well, how do your students come during the day, or how do, some do not have jobs, some do. So it's kind of a mix. And we have some that have several jobs, and they just fit that into their schedule during the day. Again, back to the point, one of one of the stars in Marlon's Bible study, she is probably late 40s. She has, I'm trying to think of how many kids she has. She takes care of her husband who just had a stroke. She feeds the poor in the neighborhood, and she comes to class. So she'll make you feel
And she calls her
pretty.
classmates if they miss, so she's doing
Yeah.
relational things on top of it, so.
So that's the type of person, now, we got that, and then you got the person who shows up one or two times, may yell at people. So we have the across the spectrum, we're not perfect. But we're gonna come back here for Q&A at the end. So, but if we could, we're gonna walk out real quickly. We're gonna go down this hallway, we're gonna show you a few rooms, talk about them as we go, and then we're gonna go upstairs. So if you make it into the hall and the people tailing behind you, if you would go upstairs, and we're gonna go to the large conference room there. But we'll start, if everybody. That's why we're putting a new HVAC system in, because we really couldn't do that before. But we want to upgrade the building for the students and patients. And we want to show you some of the things. We've rescued these couple of rooms. We didn't have access also to the entire building under the lease, but now we own the entire building. So we can do things we couldn't do before. But we want to show you a couple of these rooms that we have rescued, because we're making more and more classrooms. As we go upstairs, our goal is to have more and more classrooms as we get more and more students. We need more space. As Marlon will tell you that, we can't just have, we need individualized classes based on where, if you've got somebody that's doing Algebra 2 and Trig on the math section, and some other people that are learning fractions, it's tough to have them in the same classroom, right? Really tough to have that. So
Everybody's gaps are in different areas.
yeah, so we need more space. So if you would, and we're not stand here, but just come by and look at his. This was a storage room. This was an office. We've converted both those in the last, recently for this one, very recently. And then we're going to come down here and buy the check marks, but that'll show you what some classrooms look like. If y'all walk through those, then just come this way.
Yeah.
Marlon, let me know if you should see it. When we get to that point.
I'm impressed. It's weird that you got back to Rome.
Because the bathrooms are all vintage 1961 bathrooms. Some of which work, some of which don't, but also one of the things we'd like to fix for the grant. So if y'all go in and out that way, and then we'll gather up right here. Yeah, that's a good, I appreciate you saying that. Where's your room? Is your room?
Yeah, we definitely need video. Okay. Okay.
It's just one.
Hey.
Get out here with a
Help in here.
Not as clear back there. So in our education center, we are 19 and over, right? And the point of that is there's a lot of opportunities for people below 19 to fix their education. Now, school systems are not great. I apologize if anybody works for the school system urban-wise, but probably not your fault. It's just a bad model, But we want to help those 19 and above, right? We want to help those who don't have other options. Because in our society, I've always believed this, that once you get to 19, if you missed out, we kind of just drop you off the cliff and say, hey, sorry about that. And so that's one of the things that we're really dedicated to, is helping the people above 19 who want to change their life, right? Okay, so right here on the wall, before we go any further, we're going to go into this room next. That'll be interesting too. Probably a fire code violation. Don't record that. So right here, the checks, these are check marks of students passing GED sections.
Oh,
Right? Yeah, how about that? That's the best response I've got. These are for passing GED sections. It's even better than what y'all just think, because, so let's say a class is going on, and, you know, Denise has passed her social studies section. Well, at the end of the class day, then our staff will get everybody together, and we'll say, hey, everybody come out at the end of the class, and everybody will come in the hallway like this, and Janice, bless you, she'll put her own sticker up there. Right? And then everybody cheers. It's very loud. It's very similar to this tour. It is very loud, and there's a look that she gets, because probably I bet every one of you had somebody congratulate you on something academic, and you had some success. But for a student, hey Bill.
Ratings.
For a student that comes here, probably never, right? And that always reminds me of something that a lot of students have said to me, which is when they learn something or pass a test, you know, they'll say, Dalton, you know, I'm really not stupid. I just never knew. I never had anybody teach me. So pretty much 100% of our students never have anybody help them with homework. 100%. So when our teachers help somebody learn how to, you know, multiply fractions or add fractions, that's a big deal, because they never got that opportunity. Let's see if we can squeeze in here. This is the computer lab, if y'all come in real quick. This got very warm in the last summer. How's the video going?
It's great. It's great. I'll stop and start.
Does everybody squeeze on in? Good? Coming? Cheerleader tryouts will be Monday. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk. This is the computer lab. We have been very blessed. One of our church partners gave us brand new computers recently. They have also, 3 men from their church have always run it and fixed it and come and, you know, help our students, which has been a real blessing. Again, back to the volunteers are the base of what we do. I wanted to bring in here for a reason that this is where several things happen. Ellen talked about the assessment, the initial assessment. That happens in here. Taking practice tests happens in here. But on top of that, this is a real distinctive for me. And let's say you're a student, you've passed all the sections, you have one left, but you spent enough time with our teachers, you've now kind of become a student, a functioning student. If you have like one section left and you're pretty self-disciplined, we can put you on GED Academy in here, and you can finish it up and make quick work on your own. That's the determination can be made by the teachers. But the other part is this. So let's go back to if let's say you're 25. You wake up, you have an epiphany, which a lot of our students do. That's how they get here. It's like, wow, I gotta change my life. I dropped out of school when I was 14, I didn't realize. So they can come here, and if they come here, they show up. Ellen, Victoria, one of our great staff, takes them, does an assessment, works with them, designs a curriculum, works with the teachers we have for them to be in their classrooms, and we start them off on a program. It's not necessarily easy. Some will go through it quickly, not that quickly, and some will be very slow. And truthfully, some will never make it, and we know that. But their life is being changed while they're here. So we don't turn anybody away. But the reason I want us to come in here, if you don't come to us, and why we think we fill a good niche in the community, your option for GED is to go most likely to Miles or to Jeff State, which are wonderful institutions, but you get put in front of you get in a classroom of computers, and you're given a computer, and there'll be maybe a proctor at the front who can help you with your computer, right, and help you. But for the students that come here, at least the ones we see, that's not a great option. because as one, I remember one 45-year-old lady who I loved, who was working at Publix, but she was a really smart lady, and she'd grown up in a rough situation in Birmingham. She wanted to be in management. She wanted, but she couldn't without a GED, and so, and she had done the other route, and she said, Dalton, I'd forgotten, I don't know if I ever knew, but I'd forgotten how to learn. So she said, I couldn't get anything done on the computer. But she did great here, once she had somebody sit down with her, work with her, pray with her, do tutoring with her. So the other option is, if you think about you haven't been in school in 10 years, maybe 20 years, and you sit down at this, and you're given some login, you won't, number one, you don't know what login means, and you don't know what the mouse does, and then you start working through math up to trig and algebra 2, you know. I have not taken the test for reading. I don't help very well at trig at home. So that's what I wanted to bring in here, just to think about for the student, if you put yourself empathetically in the place of that student. If this was your option, or your option is getting to meet with Morel and her staff and all the teachers and have somebody care about you and call when you don't show up, help you get a bus pass, feed you in the morning, feed you lunch. There's a big difference. That's really kind of taking somebody life on life for people my generation that used to talk about that in ministry. All right, so let's go. I think that's the end up here. We need to get downstairs so we can go through the health clinic. We're going upstairs first. I'm sorry. We go down here, go upstairs. We'll go to literacy real quick. Then we go to the health center, and then back in there for questions. All right. So this is currently we use it. It's a multi-purpose room. We use it for larger meetings. But it's also the literacy center, and where we would like to be a kind of modern literacy center. So our vision is this would become a place where we could have more tables where you could have tutors working individually with their students. Like I've told you before, and this is if any of y'all want to be tutors, which we'd love it. Some people, as you saw downstairs, tutor here, which is great. You can do that anytime you want to, and some people do it at McDonald's or Starbucks or anywhere you want to do it. So whatever's more convenient for you, we'd love that. But we want to create a center up here so we can get more and more students access and more tutors to feel like they have a little bit of a home. Because even though tutoring is going down there today, if this were next week, we've got classes. So, you know, that space is taken up. And we do have people come up here. Anybody remembers Ken Lass? I remember Ken Lass. He's such a great guy. He tutors up here once a week.
Every Tuesday.
So we have, you know, that goes on. But this space is an old space. It's a good question, and I got the question on the walk up about the painting. We have painted and painted. We've had volunteer groups paint. We have had, but a lot of our issues this past year, the paint because of a lack of HVAC. So it's been, you know, this past summer my office was 98 degrees. Yeah, that was, and then in the winter it can be, you know, 30 degrees here. The building is solid concrete. It should be a beach building because of the hurricane structure, which makes it a great building, but also there's some difficulties with that too. But we're very thankful to have it. And there is a great deal of space. But this, you know, if you can picture this area, it's kind of haphazard now. But if we can refloor it, paint, get the desk that work tutor-wise, this will be the literacy center in the next year or so. We also have, and we talked about this before, we're on our drawing board plans, we're working on counseling, and we'll talk about that when we go downstairs, because as we talked about before, everybody that comes to us for the most part has pretty deep emotional scars from growing up. So we're hoping to move into having a counseling section of the place as well, which our students and patients really need. So, what time is it? I'm trying to stay on target. We're going downstairs. Let's go downstairs. 2 floors down. Find groups that have great participation. Okay, so down here, everybody hear us back there? Is everybody off the stairs? There we go. All right, so welcome to the first floor, which is the health clinic, and you'll see we've got Beverly Parker over there, who's our clinic director. Dr. Ketchum here is our medical director. We are thankful for both of them. We talked earlier about we have caring clinic days or chronic care, and then we have acute care. Today is a caring clinic day. But I wanted Beverly, can you come down here real quick? Y'all pass by the front desk there. We've got a waiting room. We've got the dispensary we talked about upstairs. And then we've got 3 exam rooms. So y'all want to tour those as we go out. I want Beverly to talk for a second. I know we're short on time because but we've got about 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes speech? 2 minutes?
So I don't know what you've told them all about the
I
care
said you were
clinic.
great. No, I kind of give them the basic framework. of what-
Okay, and about medicine?
A little bit about medicine, but you can talk about that more.
Yeah, we provide free medicine for anybody who brings their proof of income and they're 300% or less of the poverty level. And if they don't bring their proof of income, then we see them and write them prescriptions, and they can take it out to an outside pharmacy and get them filled. But we have very few patients who, I think we may have 2 that are above the 300% poverty level. And a lot of our medicines we get free through Direct Relief and AmeriCares, and also from Dispensary of Hope. And then we do purchase some of our medicines. And we do have some, we have a couple of doctors that donate medicines almost every month to us. And last night we had our acute clinic and we had 18 patients, which we were very happy to have. We had 2 doctors. Normally we are trying to have 2 doctors every acute clinic. And some nights we only have 1. And, all of our doctors are volunteers, so, if they get here and they are, more than happy to see our patients. And we couldn't do what we do without all of our volunteers, including Dr. Ketchum.
Yeah, Dr. Ketchum is the main volunteer slash, not volunteer, but because he is the reason we can have the dispensary. And Crystal's in there. Crystal's a hard worker who does not seek the spotlight very much. And much like John at the front desk, 2 of our best people who don't seek the spotlight. And this is the waiting room. We'll kind of come through here quickly if we can. If y'all just look in this, I know we got to get back upstairs for the Q&A in about 2 or 3 minutes. But if you would, just kind of, we're going to go to the back stairs back here. And there's a room there I also want to show you on the way out. Thank you very much. Well, you want to point everybody so we can walk in there.
Victoria can.
It kind of knows the floors.
And that's that.
Yeah, there's another room right there, the 3rd room.
That's one of the things that we're most excited for, most blessed, is like we have room for this. Like we got doubled our patients in our sets, we have room for them, and that is amazing. If we needed a whole new building, that would be a very big issue.
Victoria, do y'all have to have like OSHA accreditation, that kind of thing?
That's probably a
OSHA? You have to.
In certain things, because we do waive for labs, we do, and we've never had any problems.
Good, that's great.
It was donated. And then upstairs for the education center, we have lunch once a week that's donated for our students, and then we have breakfast every morning. Some of it comes out of our budget, and some of it is donated. We have coffee and breakfast and things like that. Yeah.
I've already seen it.
And then up at the front is where all the current patient files and stuff are kept behind John. So everything is very secure. We keep the front door locked because of the dispensary and all the patient information and things. So that's why, you gotta click the button to come in and just make sure that everyone's safe. Everything is,
Very good, thank you.
Until under the lease, but now we do since we own it. So we're hopeful to, and one thing we want to do is put a room, we need to have a classroom for disabled students on the first floor.
Yeah, you know it.
But I hope y'all saw enough to, I know we've got a question away of just to be specific. What we're trying to do is fix the building. As y'all can tell, we've had to spend most of our money and borrow money for this, which is an HVAC system throughout the entire building, which was over $400,000, which is, but anybody who knows Jody and RJ Mechanical, do y'all know them? Anybody know Jody? Who's one fantastic guy, one of our favorites. The next closest bid was like $720,000. So he's been trying to really help us a lot, which we appreciate. Yeah, it's pretty expensive to air condition and heat an old building that's difficult to cut through and has, you know, multiple issues. So what we want to do with the funding is create an environment that's safe, but also is dignifying to those who come. We helped a church several years back start a new education program off-site from their church, and we worked with them actually for 3 years, getting them up and running. And what we found, because I didn't think at the time, I thought, well, that, you know, that space won't matter, but they built brand new space. They were able to do that. And you can see it makes a difference in the lives of the students when they go into a place that feels, you know, our students are fantastic. I won't say that they won't come, because they will, but there is a different level of respect that we give the students. Now, in the first floor, there's also some flooring issues that we've got to take care of. We've got uneven floors, different types of floors, and now that we're free to fix all that, we want to go and do that. And that will be part of that. We've gotten some free work. Again, like I told someone earlier, if you can see, even these windows have been covered. We had like $25,000 work on that side of the building just to satisfy the Birmingham inspectors once we bought the building, which seems crazy because we've been next to that building for 60 years, but they told us we had to come and put all these fire prevention things in between the buildings. So there's no logic involved. Don't record that part. But we did it, and we did it up to code, and we were able to do it because of Hoare Construction and a few other companies that were so generous that helped us. So on this process too, we're getting a little bit, hopefully, that help as well, that we can stretch $1 and make it go a long way, just because we have lots of good partners in this community. Brassfield Gorey is a longtime supporter. We've had board members. We've currently got Steve McCord from Hoare Construction. Anybody knows Steve? He's been executive VP over there for a year. Super helpful, really helpful people that have been kind to the organization. So that is what the funding is for, to help. And some of y'all saw that last space down there, the space we've not had access to, where we'd like to put a classroom in for the disabled. That'll allow us to go into that area and do that as well. So we've got about 5 minutes. If there are any other questions.
I had a question. When you said church, the church, what church are you referring to?
We work with Redeemer a lot next door. We allow, and you'll see some of their stuff over there, we allow them to use their space during the weekends. I mean, we're all part of the kingdom effort, so it's kind of.
So I saw the for kindergarten classrooms for Redeemer
Yes.
students, so that's what that was
Yes.
about, okay.
Yes. So. Any other questions? Yes.
Approximately how many students do you have in the GED program, and then just wanted to.
I think our total students 46, 47.
Yeah, between 40 and 50, but the literacy I've got right now, 14 literacy pairs. So that's a student and a tutor that are meeting on their own. And then with Literacy Academy and the GED classroom, and then we tutor women at the Well House as well. We've got 5 students out there. So that
Yeah.
total is about between 40 and 50. Now, we have a new semester starting. We are calling and advertising. We've got several prospects on the list. We just don't know how many are going to follow through.
Right. We're building back up, truthfully, from COVID too. COVID kind of wiped out student population at our last graduation. You know, we had, I think right before COVID, we graduated 17. That is a number we're working back up toward, but it's a tricky, the poorest among us were scared the most. One reason, if you go back to your Ruby Payne book, because in the homes of the poor, a television set is on 24 hours a day. That's a really amazing thing that I've come to learn. But 24 hours a day, a television set is on at a pretty high volume level. Right? Makes a big difference in who you are, but also in your level of fear out of this pandemic. Yeah. Yes.
Dalton, other people may know this, but I do not. What does 300% above poverty rate mean?
It is a documented, and I didn't even know it had gone up to 300%. That's, I think, the COVID thing too. It's been 200% for years and years. Basically, there'll be federal guidelines. If you go, you can find a chart, and it depends on the number of people in the household and the amount of income based on that. So if it's a single person, you know, it might be like 12 to 14,000.
Looks like it's 12.5 for single, maybe.
Yeah, and then, you know, family of 4, family
looks
of
like
6.
it's around, a little bit above 25,000, so maybe 26,000.
Yeah. So that's how, it's all based on federal standards. Because the reason we can get the money from, or the medicine from the pharmaceuticals is a federal law too. So everything's generally tied back to that. We can't, you know, we get medications through different processes. Almost all of them are tied to that. So if any of y'all came here, which truth is told, we get white collar people who just lose their jobs and they don't have health insurance, so they'll come here. But a lot of times they can't qualify for the free medications. But most people do. I mean, the truth is that's not what we serve are real poorer populations.
But for those people, we just write a prescription and they can go get it filled at the pharmacy.
Right. Yes?
What is your annual budget and what are your sources of funding?
Our annual budget is generally around $800,000. Our sources of funding are from all over. It's, you know, for the most part, there's no governmental money, except that we do run a program for Jeff State called Ready to Work, and we're reimbursed for the number of students we have. And that's the only, everything else is from our partners, it's from individuals, from corporations, from church partners, and then we write a lot of grants, as y'all noticed from the turmoil of y'all. And we're very thankful for that. We've been very successful through the years on grants, operating grants, because it's very tangible. You know, just like Ellen's question, that, you know, we have lots of numbers coming through, we have lots of patients. We've always through the years had lots of students, and generally their level of passing the GED has been pretty high, and so that has worked in our favor. So.
I think one of y'all mentioned following up with the people that have graduated. What does that look like?
Difficult.
Right.
It's difficult because, you know, they use pay-as-you-go phones, so their phone changes, they're not email people, so, you know, we may have an email address, but they never check it. So it's a challenge, and we're trying to kind of figure out how to make that work better.
Yeah, we actually wrote that in a grant last year, we did not get yet, but trying to set up some system that tracks them, and the idea was actually given to us at our last board meeting. One board members came up with the idea that we're looking into is paying them to be tracked. I know it sounds kind of, but there has to be some incentive, because otherwise, like Mara Ellen says, it's a different, you know, I can probably track you in, you know, where you move, but it's not really possible. We have students who maybe in a semester may live in 2 to 3 different locations. Now, cell phone has really changed that, because that's the most common. Yes, Ms.
Was there something in your grant about a door? Was it the front door?
Front door, yeah, good question. I showed some of y'all the side door. I'm sorry, I didn't do a good job of getting everybody. If you saw the side door and then the front door works at times, and the side door has never worked. And so we have to just kind of lock it and hope. We have a lot of times homeless sleep in that area right outside. But we want to, we've worked with Gordon Reagan and about getting new doors, which is too expensive. We want to get new doors and a security system on the front door and the side door. Is that fair to say?
Yes, right now to leave, you kind of have to have a key in order to leave, or someone has to let you out because it doesn't always shut. So, you know,
Yeah.
just a little hiccup, you know, gives us our exercise. John walks around a lot.
Dalton, if I could, I know there are probably some other questions. Would you be willing to stay after if some ladies want to stay?
Oh yeah, we're here for
Okay,
as long as you
let me
need.
just go ahead then, and I'll close this
And Missy, if you'll close us in prayer, would you mind praying for MPower? And just thank you so much for letting us come and opening our eyes to what God is doing through you all here.
Thank you.
Father, thank you so much for this time, and thank you for getting us outside of our little safe, secure bubble in our life, and to bring us into an area that where there's so much need and brokenness. Thank you for Dalton and Laura Ellen and the staff and the volunteers that work here, Father. We just pray your blessing on them. Thank you that you've enabled them to purchase the building, and what a wonderful thing that is, and that they've been able to put in the new air conditioning and heat, and how you're providing for that. Father, we thank you for all the clients that they have come here, the students, and we pray that you would just continue to build that back up, and Lord, just their hearts to minister, and the health clinic is just such a wonderful, wonderful work that they're doing, and we're so grateful to have this privilege